Hi, everybody. I'm Laura DiCarlo of Career Directors International. If you're starting, currently thinking about starting, or actively building a resume writing or career coaching business, I am so glad you've joined us today. In this show, we share tools, strategy, and mindset tips that lead to your ultimate success without the stress. My guest today is Beverly Smith of Career Success Strategies. Hi, Beverly.
Hey, Laura.
You're going to get to know Beverly here shortly. I'll put up our little banner while I finish my intro. All right. So listen, we're currently streaming on CDI's Facebook page, YouTube channel, and LinkedIn page. The platforms can be a little bit sketchy in terms of telling me who's joining us. So as you're interacting in the chat, please start out by including your name so we know who we're talking to. It's no fun when it just says Facebook user. All right, if you don't know me yet, my goal is to become your not so secret superpower. At Career Directors International, we provide everything you need to love and excel at what you do so you can make a difference while earning an exceptional living as a career industry professional. And today, as I said, startup and growth secrets from successfully self-employed resume writers and career coaches, the private client edition with my special guest, Beverly Smith of Career Success Strategies. And one more thing though, before we talk, but I will tease you for just a second. So Beverly, she's come so far so fast as she's leveraging her former award-winning staffing business ownership and all that management acumen, coupled with working me and going through the resume business roadmap. So I'm really excited for viewers to hear from Beverly today. We've got a lot to share with you. But first, three things. Say hello in the chat. Again, include your name. Janine Bennett says, I'm looking forward to today's session with two of my favorite people. Aw, that's so nice, Janine. And we can see your name, so you are good to go. But everybody else, when you comment and say hello, please include your name until we're sure we know who we're talking to. Second, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I and my guests always love the interactive part of this process. So be part of it with us. And third, if you like what you're hearing and want to meet my other guests and get more great tips for growing a resume writing, career coaching, or other entrepreneurial venture, be sure to like, follow, and or subscribe depending on your platform. Okay. All right, we've got hello, Jeet. Jeet, I hope I pronounced that right. If not, let me know. But Jeet, this side, coming in through LinkedIn. I'm going to take my little header off here. I think you guys know now. I mean, it sure helps that her name is right there. Right? But let me tell you a little bit more about Beverly. So Beverly Smith is the founder of Career Success Strategies, which specializes in helping mid and senior level professionals with their resumes and job search strategies so that they can lead the careers of their dreams by landing the careers of their dreams. With over 25 years in staffing and recruiting, in the staffing and recruiting industry, Beverly knows what employers are looking for in job candidates and what job seekers must do to have a successful job search. Known for building successful businesses, her staffing and recruiting firm was selected for the 2022 Arkansas SBA Women-Owned Business of the Year and was a finalist for the Arkansas Business Publishing Group Staffing Business of the Year in 2021. Beverly and her husband Michael live on a farm in rural Arkansas where they raise chickens and Berkshire pigs using permaculture farming methods. She enjoys running, crocheting, and spending time with her family. And I'll add as a teaser for what's to come that Beverly understood the importance, having had a very successful business in this industry, recruiting and staffing. That she knew the importance of she knew how important it was to try to succeed in a vacuum, doing it on her own. So she very quickly signed up for CDI's Resume Business Roadmap program, joined CDI, and then shortly after that, she engaged working with me on my one-on-one consulting program. I'm really excited about what I have seen her achieve in such a short time because it's not the norm. And I know she's going to likely talk about it, but I have just loved, Beverly, seeing how you've avoided many of the pitfalls that take in new entrepreneurs. I mean, underpricing services hasn't been an issue. Not offering packages or not adopting an effective consultation strategy, which means you do all this work to get consults and then they slip through your fingers. And then when you realized, hey, I like the coaching more than the resume writing, being able to find some Tory Award winning resume writers that I recommended and build relationships with them. So it's been an exciting honor to see the speed with which you've ramped up so far, and I can't wait to see what's going to come. All right, in the chat, we have Hal Flanzer saying hi as well. So great. Thank you all for welcoming Beverly. If anybody else wants to jump in, please do. Beverly, welcome.
Thank you.
So we know you won some awards and recognitions in 2021. So when did you officially start your career services business?
Sure. So officially, I started in January of 2023. So just a little over a year ago.
Okay.
We're in our second year.
Okay. So what we were talking about earlier about the less than 1 year, less than 2 years, at least I know where I got the year from.
Yeah, right.
Everybody to go, I don't know what she's talking about, but yeah, inside joke there as I was like counting on my fingers. Evidently, Laura can't count to 2. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your business?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my team and I specialize in working with senior level professionals and just helping them not only with their resumes, but with the other documents that they're going to need. My target audience, I don't really have to convince them. They don't want to DIY their resume. So they're high achievers or 6-figure earners. They really know the value of outsourcing. And so it's just basically, making sure that we resonate with each other and that we're a good fit for each other. But as you mentioned, I really enjoy the coaching aspect. And so being able to outsource the other pieces has been really good. We've got some exciting things coming on in this quarter of our business that we're adding. My team and I are adding a branding strategy approach to our top level package, and I'm really excited. Did some brainstorming on that earlier this week, so really, really excited to roll that out. So a lot of good things coming in year 2.
Fabulous. And so we know over 25 years with the recruiting and staffing firm that you sold it, right? Is that what you did?
We did. We sure did.
So you sold it. Did you initially think that you were going to retire to the farm that you were starting at this point? Or you were going to do that?
So we had a very untraditional sell. We actually sold our book of business, and we sold our house and our business. It all went down in a very short period of time. Within about 4 or 5 weeks. And, most business sales take a year or so. So no, I didn't even expect to sell my business that soon, but I had, right after we sold, or we put it out there that this is what we're doing, I had a couple of different things start happening. I had people start reaching out to me then going, will you help me with looking over at my resume? What can you help me with? I had people ask me to write their resume. I had one gentleman say, I will pay you to write a resume for this family member and help her, if you can just kind of coach her along. And he threw out a price tag, and I was like, okay, I guess so. Here I am trying to liquidate all the stuff that's in our office. I mean, we've been in business for, at that time, it was more like 27 years. And so we have a lot of stuff. And then on top of that, we drastically downsized where we're living. So I'm dealing with all this other stuff, trying to figure out how I'm going to write this person's resume. And I had someone else approach me and I said, look, I cannot do this until after we get moved in October. So, this is like, I don't know, August 20th. Asked me, I think maybe actually July. And he said, okay, that's fine. And so I was like, okay. I had an offer for a contract position too, as well. So ultimately to me, I looked at all the stuff that was happening, and I had a pretty good lead for the university where Michael and I attended. And that's the position I really wanted. And to me, I just kind of looked at it as like, okay, this is God's confirmation that you're doing the right thing, that this is how it was supposed to go down, and it wasn't supposed to be like whatever you thought it was supposed to be, and no big deal. I just kind of looked at it, Laura, as I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. And I in no way ever thought I was going to make a business out of it until the guy that I said I wasn't going to be able to write his resume until October, he calls me in October and he says, I'm ready. And I went, okay. And that changed my mind because he was that senior level. He was a CEO of a nonprofit, and he was so much fun to work with. I just, I didn't realize how much I missed that collaboration. And the university position didn't work out. They needed someone before October, and so I was like, okay, well, maybe I could make a business out of this, because working with him was a lot of fun.
Neat. Okay. It's always fun to hear people's stories of how X led to Z, if you will.
Yeah, not linear for sure.
Right. It never is, right? All right, for our viewers today, if anybody wants to, share your origin story, please, let us know in the chat. All right, so Beverly, I'm pretty sure then that you must have found CDI pretty much right after that. Is that right?
No, actually, okay, so the crazy thing is I can't remember for sure if it was 2017, 2018, but in that time frame before the pandemic. Let's just say that there's like before pandemic and after pandemic. But it was definitely before pandemic. We knew we had this dream to come out here. And so I also, my husband had moved on and was doing some other things outside the business. And so I was looking at other opportunities within my staffing business that maybe I could add some additional services. So I found this random resume course on the internet, and one of the bonuses that came with the course was a whole list of industry related resources. And in that resource was CDI. And so I go on the website there and I'm like blown away by what I see. And I was like, this is really cool stuff. They've got so much stuff for free, and these people obviously were high level professionals. I could just tell from the interaction that I was seeing, and of course you had the website set up perfect to where you've got a freebie to sign up for. And so I'm like, yeah, and I get that because I had actually had, I don't think we talked about this in any of our pre-stuff. I know you and I have, but I had an online health coaching business that I kind of did on the side, my little side hustle. So I was real familiar with online businesses as well. And so I recognized that. And I sent it over to my just, personal email account. And sometimes I would read the email, sometimes I wouldn't. But so October, I write this gentleman's resume. November, you do a Black Friday sale in 2022 with the resume roadmap. And then you also had a sale on some of your certifications, and one of them was the resume review. And I was like, you may have had some other things, but I was like, I'm not ready for that. But I feel certain that I can probably review a resume. And I mean, my goodness, I've looked at them for almost 30 years. I can review a resume and I can tell you what is crap and what's not. So that, and you had also membership into CDI, and I was like, well, yeah, I might as well join too. So I I say officially because that's when I set up my LLC, but I guess unofficially I probably really started in November when I made that commitment and bought those courses. And it was just for those of you who don't have an email list, you should have an email list because you never know who's staying on it. And maybe they have it going to a junk account, but they read it every once in a while. So yeah, it definitely paid off for me and for CDIs.
Well, we love having you as a active part of CDI. My favorite people are the people who show up at the events, and participate, because not only do you get the best ROI, but I get to know you and support you and become friends with you. Like Janine says, a couple of my favorite people. We know each other because you guys show up. And that's what makes the difference. That's how you also end up being my guests and whatnot. So I know I shared some of the things already, and you've talked about things you've signed up for, but what can you tell us about the role CDI has played in the success you've achieved so far?
Definitely. I think huge for me, besides the resume roadmap, I mean, that was just such an eye opener because having been a business owner, like I knew enough probably just to be dangerous, but um, I wanted that guidance. And when I went through the course, obviously you do videos and things in there, so I felt like I already kind of knew you. And then I was pleasantly surprised when I get to the end of the course. I was like, "Oh, and you can sign up to work with Laura." And I went, I wonder if she'd even take me on. Like, I don't even have a business. That was my mentality. It's like, I don't have a business yet. She's probably going to go, yeah, you go write some resumes and I'll take you out. But you like happily took me on. And my whole intention with that was what I saw was you had been in this industry for as long as I'd been in the staffing industry. And I knew just as if someone were to come to me, which I actually have mentored someone that's gotten into the staffing industry fairly recently, I know the stuff that you need to avoid and the pitfalls. And that's what I had wanted with you was I was like, I want someone to tell me, okay, don't go there, but you can go here and do this. And which you kind of lay out all those things in the resume roadmap, which is great because you teach that consultation approach and, how to educate the clients to where, or the prospects to where they want to be your clients. And I totally bought into that because that's exactly what we did in our staffing business as well. But so I think the ROI for me was being able to work one-on-one on you. And then the networking opportunities that you mentioned. So at one networking event, I met Ari Schaefer. And Ari and I have collaborated. Actually, she was on she did a live stream with me. Like I have my own live stream, and she did that. Well, actually, she was on the second one today. And then Ari introduced me to Janine, and we collaborated with her on Janine's book that she just produced, which it's behind me somewhere, but I guess you can't really see it. But it's those kinds of things. And Janine has come on to my live stream as well. And those collaborations, I've actually sent clients to Janine because she writes federal resumes, which my writers don't do. And so I was like, oh yeah, I've got a person for you. So there's just been all these like unique opportunities to, really help people on a deeper level because of CDI, just the resources that are available and knowing people.
Right. I can't stress enough. We've got these live events. Everybody tries to laugh, but I was reading to Beverly what I wrote to another organization I belong to before we got started today. They have stopped doing live events and now they're pre-recording them and sharing them. And I wrote them and I'm like, look, I know I'm an adult and you're asking me to be responsible for now scheduling my own learning and doing it on my own with not being able to ask questions or anything like that. I go, I already know what my kryptonite is. My kryptonite is that I'll put that off because there's no have to involved now, except for me wanting to learn it. I'm like, I really hope you'll consider bringing it back live. Now, their lives weren't anything like our lives. Like ours are carefully crafted. I invested a year of my life learning how to run events where members truly got to engage with each other and have a thoughtful participation. So you walked away as a siloed entrepreneur or employee for someone or sub for someone. You had an opportunity to actually meet people in your community, and we still do that. And I won't stop doing that. Some people don't like our events because of that, but it's because of what people like Beverly and Ari and Janine get out of it and the excitement I see that crosses people's faces when they actually show up and participate and realize the value. And those are included in your membership, which people tell me other organizations, I guess, don't do that and you have to pay extra. I don't know, but I mean, that's one of the key benefits. So make the time to show up. I'll link to all the live events. We have events right now on the calendar through September that you can go ahead and sign up for. Very, very valuable. All right, before we move on to your tips, if you want to just say pass to anything I'm asking about, go ahead. But I think it's a couple of the few things that I think are super. I mean, there's been lots of great things of our working together. But I have two favorites that I, have kind of alluded to, and one is the whole fact that when we first started working together, you were going to take a resume writing course and learn how to write, to really get certified, do all the things, and then at one point you were like, you were feeling, if I recall this correctly, so correct me if I'm wrong, that just felt really heavy and overwhelming. And what did we do?
It did. So I actually I enjoy writing, and I can remember going back into the third grade, like I wanted to be a writer, but the thought of writing, and of course, my little brain at the time was like, a Beverly Cleary book, a little fiction book and stuff. And I was like, I just don't know that I could have the capacity to do that, but it was still a dream. I always like to write little short stories and things like that. And the school I went to had a very strong English department, and actually I'm mildly dyslexic, but they would make you correct everything, and they had this huge big old notebook called the writing guide, and you had to go look up the error and you had to write your mistake in it and write it correctly, blah blah blah. So I say all that to say I really enjoyed that. But I think where my passion more is in like content creation. I love to blog and those kinds of things. I blogged a lot in my little side hustle, but I also blogged for my staffing firm, and I really enjoyed that aspect. And I write articles on LinkedIn all the time. So what I found, I'm real good at seeing big picture concepts, and I really embrace the way the writers at CDI wrote their resumes. And the course that I took kind of did that, but y'all took it to a whole new level. I mean, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. And it's not, just this verbal regurgitation of what I did in my career that puts everyone to sleep. I mean, like I said, I've read so many resumes over the years that it's just like they're all sleepers. And it's like, it's the last thing I want to do is look at a resume. And it is true that we only spend 6 to 10 seconds looking at it. And if I don't have to read the whole thing, I'm not going to. So I had this strange misconception, though, that in order to hire contractors, I had to have a certain level of business first. Like I had to be writing so many that I needed to outsource. And I'm not sure where that really came from. Maybe I had read about you having all the contractors that you had working for you. And I knew you wrote your own resumes and that was your background. So I guess I probably just kind of assumed that. And I look back at the beginnings of our recruiting business and, we did the hands down, got in there with the weeds and did the recruiting and stuff. So I guess that's kind of where my head was. But in working with you, you really opened my eyes to no, it doesn't have to be this way. And you could actually do things completely different. And I really think that was something that was a message I needed to hear. And I'd like to also kind of go back and add, I worked with a business coach in my staffing business as well. And so did my husband when he was in it. I mean, we both had our own coaches. And I knew the value that could bring to, I think a lot of times we know we're our strengths, we know our weaknesses, we know what we can do and stuff, but sometimes just sitting down with someone, they can really see it more objectively. And especially someone, so like my business coach in the staffing industry was like you. She had worked in it forever and she had been where I was. And so just really sometimes could help me see things from a different perspective.
Right.
And in fact, the award that I won, actually, prior to me even knowing that the award was out there, I had the opportunity to participate in an SBA funded group called the Emerging Leaders. And I wasn't going to do it because I was working with her at the time. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. And she goes, I'm going to fire you if you don't go apply for this. It's free. you know, and that was the biggest eye opener, which I look now, it kind of laid the groundwork because one of the things we talked about in that group, or one of the modules, was on pricing and on margins. And so your teaching on that, you teach on this so often, but it made perfect sense to me as a business owner because you have to look at the big picture. I mean, you can't start out and look at, okay, this is what I think people are willing to pay. You have to look at, this is the end. This is where I need to end up. And so how do I work backwards and get down to a price? If that makes sense. So,
Right. Yeah,
um,
and you reminded me clearly too as you were talking that it wasn't so much that you didn't want to write resumes, but the time to scale when you got in and saw the CDI way, it was either do I have to put on hold what I'm doing or
mhm,
how do I get there now and
yeah.
also focus on my sweet spot, which for you was business and you really wanted the coaching engagement with clients.
Mhm, yeah. Yeah.
And and so that's a really big lesson for anybody watching this, that what she did that was special that came out of our engagement was being able to focus on the things she was uber qualified to do right now really, really well,
Mhm,
and outsource to others who were really qualified to do what she needed them to do right now, which is the benefit of how I've helped her match up with a multi-certified award-winning resume writers as her subcontractors. Um,
mhm,
because then you're not worrying about, you've seen their work, you see that it's been awarded on a international platform, and the quality that you're getting, and that way she didn't also have to take that mentality that so many get started with of, well, I don't know how good my stuff is or how good I am. She's able to market,
mhm.
award-winning recruitment background, and I've got award-winning multi-certified writers, and I'm a certified coach. And I mean, it allowed her to hit. I think, again, if I'm putting you on the spot, just say no. But you shared it, and I've got it in post, so I think it's okay. But I think I've been thrilled to see you embracing not being afraid to have higher prices. I guess that's
Right.
the way of saying it, of diving in with the packages And like at the beginning of this year, what am I setting my goals for? As I was begging everyone in CDI resources and sessions to set goals, and Beverly was going for it, and that's how we survive and thrive. It's a part of it.
Right, right. And I told you before we got on, I don't always get to watch your live streams live, but this whole series that you've done with other writers has been my favorite, and I got to listen to your interview with Brenda last week, and I think one of the things too that is so important is your contractors need to be paid well. It needs to be a good incentive for them to do the work, um she talked about that, and I just think there's so much more. You have to look at that. Like I said, I feel like I understood when you introduced me to these different concepts. They made sense to me from my previous business experience, because while we may have started out doing the recruiting and the sales ourselves, we eventually, at one point, we had, I can't remember, like 13 people on our team. And we had, it may have been a little more than that. We had 2 offices at one point, and we had, oh goodness, 3 or 4 what I would call on-sites in the industry, but that's where they're actually a vendor on premise.
Right.
And so we had a large team that was doing the work, and most of them were very skilled. They, and we invested in them as well, so to make sure that they were certified and things like that. And so that is just huge for me. I want to add one thing, because I don't think this is in the tips section, but for me, like joining an organization like CDI was like a no-brainer from the whole business side. I had been a member of a couple of organizations prior that are related to the staffing industry. What I liked about them was they kept me abreast of hiring trends, marketing, legal, just all the things. They had these regular trainings like you've got that you could jump on. There was always a monthly training, and they were part of our membership. But guys, let me explain something to you. Laura's membership price for CDI is like chunk change for what these organizations, you had to, your membership fee was based on revenue, not profit, revenue.
Yeah.
And so, and just the nature of the business, you're multi-million revenue in staffing. And so, I mean, it was a 4-figure price to be in it. So I love too that CEI has all these certifications that you can be a part of, and just that's just huge. And just from a business perspective, it's a business expense. It's just kind of like, it's not something you're going to purchase and never use. I mean, even if you're just reading the emails, you're getting value from it in some form or fashion.
Perfect. I love hearing that. Yeah, absolutely. Our job, but we're doing our job. And just to clarify some names, if anybody is like, oh, I got to go Google that, what she's talking about. The resume review credential we have is a certified resume analyst. And that was the first credential we ever made available to non-members without membership. And then the course, the formal name of that course, the Resume Business Roadmap, is basically the roadmap in my brain that, all the resources are in CDI, but this is like a very clear pathway from A to Z. All right, it looks like we've got Sarika with us today. She says, hi, ladies. And Janine replying about our included member events, live events. She says, no, the other organizations don't. You have to pay extra. Okay, good to know. All right, so I know we're in that beginning period, and you didn't have any breathing room between 27 years in staffing and going to the farm and suddenly having a whole other business. Um, what has having your own business, if we even have this so far, what's it made possible for you in your life? Is it flexibility?
Oh my goodness. Y'all are all going to laugh when I tell you. So, first of all, I will say, from previously having a business, I really liked the flexibility, and I kind of laugh at myself even thinking that I was going to go work at the university. Um, I would have for the right opportunity, but I really love the flexibility. And but what's different about this business versus staffing is, like, we had a brick and mortar. I had to be there. I mean, sure, I own the business and I could come and go, or things like that, but that's really not a good example to set for your employees unless you have. And we had different times where we had managers, but we just still wanted to show our dedication to the business. So I love the flexibility. And here's the thing that you're going to laugh at. So we have a pregnant pig, and
Mhm.
she is due today.
Okay.
And I'm just like, no, actually, she's due tomorrow. But so I'm hoping she doesn't drop, and I'm have to just like cut the live stream short, and I've got to go out there and help birth a pig, which I've never done. So not only that, but last Friday, and normally Fridays are the day that, like, I'm moving and checking. I'm getting stuff done. Fortunately, I did not have any clients scheduled, but I usually deal with, catch up on all my emails, deal with all my correspondence, that kind of thing. I had to let it all go last Friday because the boar that impregnated the other pig decided to get a UTI. So we had to deal with him last Friday. And the vet came out with his tech, and they were just like, okay, we're going to need you guys' help too. So we're all in there trying to corral this pig. So, it's like almost 300 pounds. So it takes all four of us to give him shots and everything else, draw blood and all that kind of stuff. So um, I am so grateful that I was able to just kind of, and I take Mondays off. That's another thing. Mondays are just like my day to do my numbers, but generally I go, that's the day I go in town, I grocery shop, I do my appointments. They're all on Monday. And so, yeah, it's just been, I love the flexibility. Now I'm been playing massive catch up Tuesday and today, trying to get it all back in place. But, you know,
Yeah,
I,
but if you
I,
worked for someone else and you had a pregnant pig or a pig with a UTI
I can't come
or
to work.
a toothache or anything
Yeah,
else,
yeah.
sometimes we're worrying about putting our jobs in jeopardy over those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh, so I know, and the other thing too, I just want to share because I want to share it, and I know that you and I talked about this before, but I'm so excited about the flexibility because I'm about to be a first time grandma, and in October, and so I'm excited that I've got this business. I can just pick up this laptop and I can drive an hour away. And if I need to go stay with the baby and, help out, I'm going to be available for my family as they need me while still being able to earn an income.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's one thing that we're really, really excited about as well.
I love it. And whatever you have in your mind, and I don't mean Beverly, but people who watch the replay of this or are here with us live, whatever you think is like, well, I could never do that. Like I had a guest previously who talks about the whole, when she first heard I took Fridays off when I had my private practice, that was like her dream. Is that even possible? And it was like, yeah, she went on to make that happen. And even today, though, how I've been self-employed for over 30 years now, between the private practice and now the association. And my husband started with a new company, and he works 4 days a week, and I always take Fridays as my day. I get a massage. It's my day. I might have lunch with him or somebody else. It's my day. They gave him Monday off. Oh, there's just no way. I can never take Monday. Monday is too important. There's too many things that happen on Monday. Yeah. Guess what? I work a half day on Monday and I'm still taking Friday off. And that's because I don't get work done, but it's because of how I schedule my work and how I function
Hmm.
so that I can still
Yeah.
have a life. And you couldn't do that if you had most bosses. I mean, there are some great circumstances out there, but in other words, I just want to stress to everybody, if you think you can't take a vacation or you can't break away from your business because you always have job seekers waiting, blah, blah, blah. I have yet to work with somebody, especially if they come to me one-on-one, where we didn't figure out a plan. And one of my private clients, who I'm highlighting her success story with the replay, she talks about having both a 2-week vacation and her most profitable month to date in her success story after working with me. Because you did this not only to help people, but hey, to have life and work on your terms. So we
Hmm.
don't want to be owned by the business. We want to be balanced with the business
Right.
and happy. So I know I like to get on my soapbox. I can't help it, but give
Well,
me a
I think too, it's important. Like the reason I ended up selecting Mondays, because initially, I mean, I guess we all kind of have that little mentality of, oh yeah, I want to take Friday off. That's great. I found early on that my clients usually had Friday off, or half days off on Friday, and that's when they wanted to meet with me for coaching or consultation or interviews, things like that. And so I was just like, okay, well, we can make this work. We can do it. I fortunately, my hair girl works on Monday, so it worked out good. I mean, yeah, most of you ladies know that they don't work on Mondays, but mine
right.
does. So um, it works out really, really nicely for me most of the time. And on top of that, I've had to have a lot of dental work done this last year. Well, most dentists take off early on Friday, so that works out good. They're
Right.
there on Monday.
Monday through day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever it is
absolutely.
you need to have, like
Hmm.
whatever somebody needs to have, there's always a spin for it.
Yep.
I think it was last week I was talking about the whole, you do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, a SWOT on the situation, so that you always have a spin. So if you don't take clients on Friday, or if you don't take clients in the evening, or you don't take clients on Saturday, which are all things I want to help most people get away from if you're doing this full time, especially, there's a spin. Like when I had my private practice, there were periods of time. I mean, I went fully virtual way back in 2004. I had a home based business, but I used to see people in person. And my pain levels with the condition I have were so high that I had to start working from the bathtub. I couldn't invite you into my bathroom, but I could talk to you on the phone from the bathtub. And despite a little bit of echo that you just thought was a weird, sounding line, I only lost maybe two bordering on the elderly, workers who just couldn't grasp the idea in 2004 of doing this from the comfort of their home. So we find the spin, we find the way for you to make it look like this was the best idea they ever heard of, not the whole, oh, I'm so sorry I can't see you in person, but I tell you what, Beverly, you're going to absolutely love this, because so many people get stressed out by this process and hate that they have to lug all this stuff to my office. You're going to do this from the comfort of your favorite chair at home, just talking to me on the phone. And it's going to be this great conversation where somebody actually asks you what you do and wants to know everything. And I'm going to ask you, and we're going to have a great time. And I'm going to learn what makes you unique and valuable so that you have these kinds of success stories, show success stories.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's wonderful what you can spin. So that is a win. That is marketing. That is marketing. So
True.
that you don't have to do the things you don't want to do in your business when you don't want to do them, especially. All right, it looks like Janine says a lot of government employees work 4-day, 10-hour days so they can have Fridays off. Yes. Yes. Or like in my husband's case, working for a DOD, Mondays off, but I'm coming to embrace it because you know what? And here's my spin. It took me a while because I was not happy at first, but you know what? I still get my own Friday. If Friday was his day off, I'd be sleeping in, getting my 1:30 massage, still not seeing him till his normal end of work day. So now he's here all day Monday. I can order him around. I can spend time with him, and it's my Friday. So you just never know. Okay, if anybody, any of my viewers who are here today, if you want to share any of your story in the chat, please do. We love learning more about you. But Beverly, my next question, and I know you've kind of answered this, so if we need to move on, to the other tip questions, we can. But I'm ready to find out, is there anything else you wish you'd known when you first started your business, or if you're just starting today, that you would have done differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish that when I would have stumbled on CDI's website in 2017, I would have found the Call Laura Now button. Um, because here's what I would have done. I had it in my head again that someone in my office needed to be the one writing these resumes, and there was no one I was going to pull off of their current income producing tasks to go write resumes. It didn't make sense for the owner of the company to be writing resumes, but I knew my ability, and I was like, and I did some for some friends during that time period, just to hone my skills and to practice what I had learned. But I couldn't figure out how to make that work in my business. And again, if I could have realized that I could have used subcontractors back then, I bet Laura and I could have figured out how to make this work. And then when I got ready, I think the other thing that was kind of hanging me up too, and it worked out where I sold my book of business, not the whole business. But I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to sell the resume portion. But like, I think we could have figured that out, and I would be that much farther ahead. I'd be 5-6 years ahead of where I am now, starting from scratch. And I'm still in that roller coaster of some months are good and some months are not so good. And so I just think there's so much I could have learned. And so I guess my thing is, if this is something you want to do, don't wait. Or if you've got something that you're thinking of adding to your business, number one, don't wait. And number two, reach out and ask somebody who's been there, find somebody, find a Laura and talk to them. So you need a Call Laura Now button on
Who are you gonna call?
Yeah. Call her now. I mean it. You need me.
Right, but you know what is today, I think it's such a slippery slope for everyone because we see all this free stuff and everybody, well, this is how I did it and that and this, again, things are spun that they like look all bright and shiny, or they worked for that person. Here's an example. I used to have situations where I would interact with people, especially when maybe they were just starting with me, and they would be like, well, so-and-so doesn't do that on their website. And I would be like, well, yes, but so-and-so is a syndicated, columnist, or so-and-so has this contract that you don't know about. I don't ever share confidential information, but I'm just giving you 4 examples. So-and-so has this contract that you don't know about that feeds them all their business. So they don't have to do the A, B, and C that you really need to do because you haven't accomplished that. Or yeah, so-and-so has won 5 Tory awards and has 3 certifications, and guess what, those are like indefinite funnels into your business. You can't think that just because they aren't doing education or showing metrics-based testimonials, or they don't have to share samples, so I don't, you're playing in a whole different ball, field than they are at this point. So you got to be so careful just thinking, I'll follow what I see others doing. And then when you some people who are really successful, and I hear like how like the one that started me doing all those video tips that I have on the free stuff page, all these little under 10-minute tips on how to do all these things was people just kept coming and telling me things that I'm going to refer to as old wives' tales, because it was like, oh, you should never talk price during the consult. You should always send your proposal after. And I was just like, I can't even think of anything worse. And yeah, great, it's working for this person, but I know their backstory. I can't think it's going to work for you. And here are the 50 reasons I'll give you, to convince you not to do that. Anyway, yes, obviously I support what Beverly has just said. You got to do it on your own because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you can just waste precious time. And I guess I'm going off on this because like Beverly and Janine knows, and I'm transparent about it. If you've watched my show before, then I can tell you that the thing I've heard repeatedly over and over again, despite the fact that, like Beverly says, CDI's membership is so low, it's $267 US for a year. With all of the live included events, all the done for you white labeled job seeker tip sheets that you can give away or sell, just so much stuff, all the contracts, all the scripts, everything, just everything. But despite that it's so low, almost everybody who joins tells me after they've been involved for a little while, I wish I hadn't waited 3 years after 3 or 4 people told me to join. Yeah. So imagine what those 3 or 4 years would look differently if you hadn't waited.
I'll say this, going back to the staffing association we were members of, we were members of it. I paid that bill every single year. And I think my husband he was a better student of the industry than I was early on. And so he probably used it, but it wasn't until 2016 when the DOL was really getting into, we're going to raise the salary up, and they were throwing out this really high number. And those of us in the southern states where, our minimum wage was lower and things like that, we were just having a freak out because, so many people would have had to go. And in staffing, you work until the job is done. Yeah. And sometimes we can go home early, but guess what? After hours, that phone rings and you got to answer it, and you've got to take that call. And so there was just so much going on. And so that's when I first plugged in to the staffing association. So I only got value out of it out of the last 6 years, but I started going almost to every monthly meeting. I started reading all the articles. I mean, they were sending me this stuff every week, every day. I got an email actually that was just kind of like little bullet points with links to articles and stuff like that. And so, yeah, don't wait. No way. Yeah. There's just too much good stuff. And I mean, if you want to grow your business, if you're fine like with where it is and you're stagnant, CDI will be here when you're ready. But it's just there's a lot you're missing out on.
And not just the business piece, the skill set too, because we pride ourselves on being the best of the best on what we can teach you.
I really trust you and your team there to keep us up to date on what's going on too, because I don't have time to go study all that.
Right.
And so you being able to bring all that stuff back and put it into one place, I have now a resource that I can go one place, and I don't have to go all over the internet looking for what I don't know I'm looking for.
Right.
So
that's the key. What you don't know you're looking for. Mm-hmm. All right. Janine says, in the summer, I take every Friday off and I don't start work before 10 a.m. every day. Love it. Worth applauding for. Exactly. Yes.
You go, girl.
All right, Beverly and everyone else, we've got just 2 questions left here, but they are power-packed questions because they're advice-rich for you. So, Beverly, for those who are considering a career in the field or who are struggling in their businesses right now, what are a few other key pieces of advice you'd share with them?
Sure. So, I want to speak to I think there's a lot of people that may be struggling in this industry that maybe aren't natural business owners. And so, and while that's not me, I've owned a business for a long time. I still get that idea. And especially because I've worked in the online space before, I saw that a lot with my colleagues there. And so, what I think that, going back to, I know we've talked a lot about CDI, but let me just say, I think that there's a really good spot for you here, because if you go back and listen to Brenda last week, and you've heard Laura talk about that, I use contractors, and then um, I think Sandra that was on with you before uses contractors, and there's been some other people and I can't remember, but um, Laura's got a spot on the website there for you guys to go and say, I'm available for work. And so you're still going to have like the foundations of a business, whether you're a sole proprietor or an LLC. You need to work that out with your accountant and your attorney, but you aren't going to have to, like, all the marketing and things like that, that those of us that are building a business with contractors, and there's those of us that are going to need you. And so you've got you've got a resource, I guess is what I'm saying here. I don't know that people realize what a gold mine they have. If you don't, you can't just go to LinkedIn and hang a shingle up there and say, I'm a resume writer, and just hope that if I post, once or twice a month, I'm going to get clients. You need to work your network and probably attend networking events. And I feel really blessed. Like, the reason I had all those people reaching out to me is because I have networked for years in the other business. So for those of you, and I get it, there's some of you that are massively gifted as talented writers. And, I've seen the post too in the Facebook group where you're like, I'm not, are y'all seeing this downfall and you're blaming AI and all that crap? It's not. There's business out there. And if you're not the one that wants to go out and get it, let, you know, there's a resource for you here. So that's one thing. The other tip I would have is, I think everybody should hire a coach at some point, whether you work ongoing with one or you just have a one-off session. Give yourself the gift of working with a coach. It is a business expense, and your coach can see things that you can't see. If you work with someone like Laura, who has been in the industry for hundreds of years, I'm just kidding. Since the beginning of the internet, since pre-internet. No, but you have someone that's probably going to recognize, like she did with me, like, oh, sister, honey, let's get someone to write those resumes. Or in my case, it's not uncommon for Laura to get an email from me that says, with the subject line, I need you to talk me off a ledge. Yes, I have sent that to her. And having someone, when you have a coach, you've got someone that can do that. And at the very least, network with your peers and be inspired. That's why I love these, like, live streams where you've got all these people that I love to get to sit and listen to them. And there's people from that I have picked up the phone, or I have sent emails and said, hey, can we just, like, do a coffee chat? Because I'm really want to. Laura I'm going to misspell her name or mispronounce it. Lebovich. Sorry, Laura. She is awesome. And I had the best coffee chat with her. And, again, it's just people like that you meet. It's going to be huge. Don't go it alone. And it's really easy to feel isolated when you are working remotely from home, and just having the gift of having colleagues. Again, that's another benefit of CDI. So
I'm not going to complain that it all leads back to CDI. Worked hard, really, really hard to achieve that for our members. Janine says, I agree with Beverly. I trust CDI and the team for resources to keep me updated. Yeah, I mean, I just happen to like being an early adopter. It's like, oh, wait, we're all scared of AI. Let me go out there and test it for everybody and show you how to use it and what to do. In fact, I was going through all the various prompts I have shared over the last 6 or 7 months, and I was gathering them together for one of my private clients because that's how nutty I am. I was like, I think I have a few prompts that will work for this bonus you want to include, because I'm really big on incentivizing slow periods with a bonus add-on versus a discount, abundance
Mhm.
versus scarcity. So I'm like, oh, I'll get you some. I ended up with like 19 prompts, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this work for me. We're going to put these into a done for you tip sheet that you can sell or give away to your clients. And we'll be releasing that in a couple of months because I've got to do the LinkedIn for job search one first, which the education committee does it, but then my actual team gets it online and everything. But I read everything. Everything goes through me before it's like, yes, this is ready to go. But yeah, we just love learning stuff and staying abreast of what works, what doesn't, and why not to be scared of it. Um, if anybody else has any tips, anybody who's a viewer today, please drop them in the chat. Beverly, my last question, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience in terms of encouragement, lessons learned, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I have another tip that I think is really important. And again, this is really for those of you that may be struggling, is you need to treat your business like a business. And just like you were going to your job, you need to show up. I mean, you've heard us. This is now, we're flipping now that we've said, take Fridays off and don't come to work till 10. Whatever your schedule is, work it and have a plan. So, like, for example, in my business, I told you, even though I technically take Mondays off, it's kind of like what I term my accounting day. And it's, I do some of those numbers, but it's something a little easy I can spend, a few hours in the morning doing before I go to town. But you really need to treat it like a business. You need to have a plan in place. I, you need to know your numbers. You need to understand your numbers and understand I can't just throw out a price, but if if I'm not profitable at the end of the day, then it's not doing me any good. And so profitability is obviously things like your tech stack and anything that you may have that supplement your business, or if you work with contractors, but also consider your time, the amount of hours that you spend. So, for me, one of the things I had to take a hard look at was in interviewing the prospects, I was probably spending 8 to 10 hours from prep to getting my notes ready. And I was like, that's not sustainable for me. Plus, it's making me nauseous. And so, I, those are some things that um, you need to consider. And I mean, maybe you like spending 8 to 10 hours with your butt in a chair. I don't. It hurts my hamstrings. They'd have to get up and walk around every once in a while. So, treat your business like a business and invest in yourself and know that it's, part of your business expense as well.
Love it. Love it. Wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Beverly. It's been wonderful to have you as my guest today. And I hope that everybody who has joined us and who may be watching the replay right now um, finds value in what Beverly said. And maybe you can drop a thank you to her in the chat. We're going to be highlighting some of Beverly's top tips on social media channels starting tomorrow. So be sure to watch for them, engage, maybe share them with somebody who you think could benefit from seeing that tip, who's in a place right now that's going to resonate with, oh yeah, I need that. And if you're a CDI Association member or you're on our email list, you're going to get an email in the morning about the replay page. Visiting the page is really valuable, even if you're here watching, because I link to the free resources for non-members and the deep dive lessons for members on anything that Beverly and I touched on today. So, she said subcontractors. I'm going to be including, a link to that subcontractor referral directory. And I'm going to be including links to our subcontractor contracts and our subcontractor best practices tip sheets for both subcontractors and subcontract hirers. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. So the list is quite extensive because we covered a lot of ground today. So if you're wanting to deep dive into something, that's where you're going to find it. And if you're not on our list, it's really simple. Just go over to the CDI website. There's a quiz on the top to figure out your number one business blocker. And it will, does that one add you? Wait a minute. Does that one add you to, that one adds you to the list? Yes. We also have a wait list for membership. So visit the join page. Super simple. We only have like 5 navigation buttons on our website. Join, there's free stuff. And that's where you're going to find everything. But you can join the wait list, and that also puts you on the list so that you don't get everything on that list, but you definitely get the replays of this because we want you to see what our members are achieving. Okay, so coming up next week. Oh, and of course, I'll also include a link to where you can learn more about working with me. And I'll just stick that here at the bottom if you want a direct link to check that out right away. But let me tell you about what's coming next. So if you found this as valuable as I did, Beverly was wonderful. I have 2 more private clients coming up, former private clients, as my guests. This next week, next Wednesday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern, you're going to meet Emily Caput, who is a 3-time certified master resume writer, as well as an industry-leading career strategist and career resilience expert. She's also the founder of Refresh Your Step LLC, a career advisory firm with clients located nationally and internationally. So she and her team collaborate extensively with clients on what she calls the capitalize with a K process. I love that. I love when people riff on their names. An innovative methodology that addresses all facets of one's career progression, internal and external, and resilience, including tactical career guidance, job search strategies, mock interviews, negotiation tactics, writer, professional assets, and more. Emily's insight and guidance have been published in Forbes, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Medium, HuffPost, and Mind Body Green, among others. She's currently working on her first book, Sink or Swim, The Life-Changing Strategies for Career Resilience, which is due out in 2024. And I always ask my guests to share what they think are some of their claims to fame that might intrigue people to want to learn from them. And she says that she single-handedly grew her business, expanded the team, landed several lucrative contracts and relationships with recruiters and other coaches, and became a known entity in the industry without really spending money on marketing. She also achieved that while embracing parenthood, which included at one point a 2-month period when she ran the business from a hospital bed when she was on full bed rest. So she'll have a lot of tips for the busy parents that are out there as well. So I hope you will mark your calendars and plan to join us next Wednesday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. Again, always streaming on the CDI Facebook page, the CDI LinkedIn page, and our YouTube channel. And just going to tease you really quickly, when I finish up with these 2 next guests in my private client edition, we're going to shift to some different kinds of guests. And for the entire month of June, we are going to have former Tory winners as guests, but not 1 per episode. We're going to have 3 per episode, unless things go terribly wrong. But right now, that's how it's scheduling out. But I will have 3 former winners on each session. I don't know why we lost Beverly. I'm putting her back in. She tried to get away, folks, so we're not going to let her yet. Do you have an emergency? Do you need to go?
No.
Okay. Almost done. But anyway, it's going to be great because you're going to be learning tips because the 2024 24th Annual Tory Resume Writing Awards, the #1 lowest cost, highest ROI way that resume writers build their business, is open currently registration through, I think, the second week of July. So that'll be a fun series. Mark it on your calendar now to get insights on resume writing and best practices from Torrey Award winners and why it's so valuable, why they keep entering year after year. Okay, so finally, if you're not a member, I told you to go check out the join page. I told you to check out the quiz. The free stuff page, there's a lot there. And again, it's right there in our navigation. Go check it out. See the testimonial from a member who built a six-figure business just on the free resources alone and then decided to join, because like, if it's that good on the outside, what's it like on the inside? But there's a lot there. So do take that quiz. Do take the business blocker quiz, because not only is there a nice surprise in there if you don't want to wait for membership to be open, hint, but there's also going to tell you what your number one blocker is to six-figure success. And then it's going to curate the majority of those free resources and tell you where to focus your time and energy right now for the greatest outcome. So that's all we've got for today, Beverly. Thank you again so much. I've had a good time sharing you with the world on the show, and not just you and me privately like normal. So appreciate you. And to our viewers, thank you so much. And I hope I will see you next week. And until then, let's fly higher.